As we said earlier, that today is World Children's Day. The day was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day and is celebrated on the 20th of November each year in order to promote international togetherness, awareness amongst children worldwide, and also to improve children's welfare. The United Nations General Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of the Child on this day, and today also marks the 30th anniversary of the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. We look at children's lives and rights, and we speak to the children themselves who had earlier today attended some children's parliament in Cape Town. My guest this afternoon, Azola Ndongeni. She is the 2018 ambassador for the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, and we also have Yusat Bayat. He is a parliament member. Good afternoon to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on the SABC News channel. I was actually hoping to have you here sitting next to me in studio, but you had a very important event to attend in Parliament today. Talk to us about what happened today, Azola.
So today in Parliament, we met with Minister of the Department of Social Development, which is the department that assists us in the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, and a few members of Parliament. So we were discussing child rights issues in relation to child development, child protection, child survival, and child participation. So we were debating those issues, bringing about what kind of problems we face in regards to those issues. And we also brought forward resolutions, because we are children who do not just come with problems. We tell them how to solve them.
Interesting
so
indeed.
That's what we were doing today.
All right. So Yusat, take us through the solutions that Azola is referring to, and perhaps the recommendations that have been put forward in order to solve the challenges that children face in South Africa.
Basically, these are problems that have been addressed for multiple years. Every year we address the same problems, we've been about the same problems, and so solutions do exist. It's about implementing the existing budget, it's about training teachers, it's about addressing violence, it's about addressing problems that are already there, everyday problems. It's like building a bridge for learners who have to cross a river every day, building toilets for people who still do not have access to proper sanitation and use pit toilets on a daily basis.
So as you say, the problems and the challenges are not necessarily new. It's things that are spoken about almost on a daily basis. Why have we not resolved those problems involving children? What are the members of Parliament and the ministers saying?
It's important to note that since the UN Convention was ratified in South Africa, there has been significant progress made. I guess they're big problems, and it will take time to solve them, and it is being addressed slowly but surely. Right. They're not problems that can be solved in a day.
All right, so but from where you're sitting now, you're convinced that there is hope, that eventually everything will be solved? Is there light at the end of the tunnel after that interaction with all the relevant stakeholders?
I think through the interaction, as well as through history, it's shown that we are making progress. And Minister Lindiwe Zulu did assure us that she's going to take it to the top. She's going to let the executive know our concerns and that we have not only been listened to, but heard.
All right, so let's go back to today, Azola. I'll bring you into the discussion now to really talk about your understanding of the importance of today.
My understanding of the importance of today, for me personally, my own agenda was to ensure that the Minister of Social Development understands that her department alone, the Department of Social Development, cannot implement these problems on its own. And so what we were pushing, what I was personally advocating for, was the institutional arrangements that needs to be changed. So before 2009, just to give you a history of that, the children in South Africa were under the Office of the Presidency. And then after 2009, they were placed under social development. So it was important for me to advocate that fact that ever since children went to the Department of Social Development from the Presidency's office, there hasn't been much progress. So I was advocating that we need to take children back to presidency with women and with people who have disabilities.
All right, interesting point you're making. So what was the response? Is that likely to happen?
The response was that they have been having these kinds of conversations, because I also know it's not the first time I'm raising this point, and it's not the first time this point is being raised in Parliament. It has been raised before. And so they said to us, conversations are taking place in Parliament, but there isn't much change happening. But there is hope. The minister made a commitment today, which we will hold her accountable to.
All right, but what is it that worries you specifically with the department having moved, or rather the issues around children having been moved from the presidency to the social development department? What is it that you were hoping to see happen that has not happened?
Because the thing is, we need to understand that children's issues are not only social issues. Children have issues with finances. The Department of Finance affects children. Children need that department. Children need the Department of Labor to fight for child labor issues. Children need the Department of Justice to fight for violence against children, especially the girl child. And so now the Department of Social Development alone, it cannot tackle those issues. It needs other departments. And the only way that other departments can be able to work together with children in trying to tackle these issues is if children are at the office of the presidency, because that's the office that is listened to. If social development sends a letter to the office of the presidency, they will listen, because that is the office that has all the resources. That's the office that's well equipped. That's the office that the president himself is much closer to. And so if issues are closer to the president is more likely to take them seriously, and other ministers are more likely to implement what we are saying. So social development alone is too small to tackle our issues. Our issues are too big. They're not social issues only.
All right. So very quick on this one, you said, if there is one thing that you would change about the way children live in South Africa, what would it be?
I would say education. We need to invest in education and sports development. There are many under-resourced schools, and resources are unevenly spread, and I think that needs to change. And we need development, especially in the maths and science field.
All right, guys, I've run out of time, but we'll leave the discussion at this. Thank you so much for coming through. Many thanks there to my guests joining us live from our studios in Sea Point. We had Azola Ndongeni, the 2018 ambassador for the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. We also had Yusat Bayat, he is a parliament member, talking to us about issues involving children here in South Africa. You've heard them raise those concerns. The Department of Social Development has been listening in on the discussion, and in a short while, we'll certainly get their response on this issue. But for now, Peter, you're taking us to the Northern Cape province.